Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And to begin, Kyler Murray is active. Kyler Murray was activated today. He is going to face the Atlanta Falcons in Week 10. Kyler Murray, I believe it was Week 14, he injured his ACL, so it's been about a year, a little less than a year, about 11 months. And, this is the best you can do at this point. The team is afloat. Enough of a float. We're probably not going to do anything this year, but let's see what you got. It was either that or Clayton Tune because you got rid of Josh Dobbs and we saw how bad Clayton Tune was. So this is what you got to do. So Kyler's back, and let's see what this Cardinals offense looks like with him back in the saddle. Now, don't predict that he's going to go and score 35. That's not going to happen. But some production would be nice. So let's see what happens. Next up, the Titans have a new guy, a new starting quarterback. This was labeled yesterday as the Titans announced that Will Levis is the long-term starting quarterback. What does this mean for Ryan Tannehill? Well, it means Ryan Tannehill is probably done in Tennessee. Tannehill, 35 years old. He's been injury prone the last couple years. Missed some time. And you got to figure out what you have in Will Levis and what you have in Malik Willis. And to be honest, throwing him into the fire is the only way you can really do that. So what I do, as I say, no matter what, if we win, lose, whatever, these two guys have to be the guy. One of these guys has to be the guy. So let's play him. Let's sit Tannehill for the rest of the year, and let's play Willis, and let's play Levis. That should have been the option. That's what they should have done when the injury occurred. They did not. Now Levis, who showed in his first start that he could actually play a little bit, just throw it up for DeAndre Hopkins and see what happens. Good things usually happen when you do that. That's what they did. It worked. He plays in that Thursday night game against Pittsburgh. Doesn't look great, but doesn't look bad. That's the good thing. Yes, he kind of fell back to earth, but when you play Pittsburgh thing happens, and the games aren't going to be great. But he looked okay. He looked pretty good. He never looked uncomfortable. So that's what you got to do. Find a guy that has kind of those nerves of steel, that he can get through it. Moving on to, this is news. The Patriots are making the flight to Germany. If I remember today, they have told J.C. Jackson, do not come. You're not coming on the trip to Germany. They are calling it a mental reset. Now, is that exactly, was he frustrated that the team wasn't doing well? Was he frustrated he was traded back to New England? Was he frustrated or was he upset because of all this that was going on? What is going on exactly? So, to me, we'll get into my predictions a little bit later in the show, but I found it very interesting to not bring J.C. Jackson to Germany. I do want to bring this up. There is more news. I put this all in the description. Number one, actually, this is news that just came off the printing press. No one knows what a printing press is anymore. James Conner has been designated to return from the IR. He'll have his 3 weeks window to ramp up and come back. As we said, Jackson is not on the trip with the Patriots. And let me make sure I can find it. Okay, yeah, here we go. This came out Monday. And I didn't say anything because it only came out Monday afternoon. And it only was official yesterday. The Dallas Cowboys have signed a wide receiver. We talked about it a little bit on Monday's show. Martavis Bryant signed to the practice squad. Now, Bryant hasn't played in 5 years. He was 26 when he last played. He's 31 now. And the reason I didn't say anything when the signing occurred yesterday was because I had no idea how this was going to shake out. Quote from Stephen Jones. He, Bryant, a guy that is big, strong, fast, wide receiver, will certainly take a look at. That's what Stephen Jones said on Monday. The 31-year-old entered the league as a promising wide receiver out of Clemson and was selected to go to Pittsburgh Steelers in the 4th round of the 2014 NFL Draft. He spent 4 years with the franchise, caught 8 touchdowns as a rookie in just 10 games, posted 765 receiving yards in 11 games in his second season with Pittsburgh. While flashing at times, Bryant has run into some league trouble, violating the substance abuse policy. The policy he was getting suspended for was for marijuana. The NFL no longer tests for it, so it shouldn't be a problem. He was first suspended in 2015, where he's had a 4-game suspension, then violated the policy again in March of 2016. The NFL announced that he was suspended for the entire season for another violation. He was reinstated conditionally in 2017, which would ultimately be his last season in Pittsburgh. He was traded to the Raiders in the spring of 2018, faced another year suspension for another violation that ended up he played 8 games before the league came down with an indefinite suspension, violating the terms of his conditional reinstatement. Since the banishment from the NFL, Bryant has still been playing football, making stops in the CFL, and most recently joined the XFL as a member of the Vegas Vipers. This was the last part of the report. It's unclear how much Bryant has left in the tank. Prior to his resume of his eye-catching enough, he was put on the practice squad. At the moment, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Brandon Cooks, Kavadne Turpin, Jalen Tolbert, and Jalen Brooks are the wide receiving room in Dallas on the 53-man roster. Now, why did the Cowboys make this move? There was a couple reasons. One of them was this is a flyer. This is not a, and what do I mean by a flyer? It means we don't know if he's got anything left in the tank. If he does, great. We'll put him on the field. If he doesn't, okay. But we'll put him on a flyer. We'll give him a couple weeks, and we'll see what happens. And that's not a bad thing. The Cowboys do this all the time. Mike Fisher, who's been covering the Cowboys for 34 years, he calls it Second Chance Valley Ranch. Before the Cowboys went to Oxnard, they went to Austin, Texas, where Valley Ranch was where they worked out for the offseason. And it really started in the 90s when they brought in Charles Haley. They called it Second Chance Valley Ranch. You would have an issue and in place, and then you would come here. You would go to Dallas, and supposed to have great success. Never always filled out that way. But if I'm the Cowboys, if this works, What are you going to use him for? Well, he's a 6'4" wide receiver who last time he weighed in, he was 210 pounds. So what are we going to do? All right, we're going to go and put him near the goal line. We're going to go have him play bully ball at the goal line as a wide receiver. Have him run fade routes, have him run slants. Let's just have him beat them off the ball, use his spacing and his height. Then we'll put him on third downs, and if that works. Now, granted, my concern was, and the Cowboys would not have signed him if this wasn't a concern of theirs either. If this was a concern. My concern was he was a 4.3 guy when he came out of college. Is he probably a 4.3 guy now at 31 years old? Probably not. But the speed is enough that it's there. So maybe there's some juice left. When he was in Pittsburgh, the one thing I remember he was in Pittsburgh was he had great hands. He had great hands as a wide receiver. Can he have great hands again? I don't know, but if he can, do it. Because in those situations, you may just go and say, okay, third downs go in. For touchdowns, go in. We're going to try and get this guy the ball, get some one-on-one jump ball situations. He's 6'4", 210. He's going to be able to get good spacing. If he can catch the ball, I don't care if he only gets like 300 yards and catches 30 passes. If he catches 30 passes, but 8 of them are for touchdowns from the 1 yard line, I don't care. And if the others are third downs, I don't care. That's what I'm going to do. So Martavis Bryant signed to the practice squad. Now he does have 3 call-ups. See if they use him. Next up, we move to another team in the NFC East, actually the team that the Cowboys faced this week in the New York Football Giants. Darius Slayton was defending Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has gotten a lot of scrutiny this year for his bad play. And is there right for him to have some scrutiny? Yes. Yes, there is. He's not been great, but he's been getting hit a lot too. The offensive line's not been great. Darius Slayton, and this is a report, so I'll read it off. Darius Slayton emotionally defends Daniel Jones, saying it's a bit personal, talking about how the media portrays him. Jones suffered a torn ACL in a 30-6 loss to the Raiders. The injury dashed any optimism the Giants' prospects at the end of the season and brought sadness already to a team that was trying to save its season after Jones coming off a contract extension during the offseason. Speaking on Monday, the wide receiver Darius Slayton, who was drafted alongside Jones in 2019, let his emotion show, saying it was personally disappointing for him to see, given the personal and professional link that these two have. Quote from Slayton, "You don't ever want to see any of your teammates go down, but to me personally, being here my whole career with DJ and kind of just the natural connection a receiver and quarterback have, obviously to me, I think it's a bit personal." Now, Slayton has said in previous interviews that he defended Jones because, that's his teammate, that's his guy. And the way the media does portray it, if you don't win right away, it's a bad sign. Well, Jones has not had a great year coming off a contract extension. He's making $40 million. This team hasn't been good. It's not just Daniel Jones. It's everything. It's not one person. Let's just say it that way. It never is, so we shouldn't blame one person. It's the same thing what's happening in New England. We're blaming Mac Jones or Bill Belichick. Yeah, I get it. We're fans. We understand when it's not going well. We want to blame somebody, but we might be blaming the wrong people. We might. The defense for New England isn't very good. Why are we not blaming that? The offense is slow. Why are we not blaming that? We're blaming Mac Jones, but we're not blaming he has no one to throw to. Just a thought. And before we go to the predictions, let me make sure I can find it. Here we go. There is a rumor going around that, well, actually, here's two things. There's a rumor going around that Bill Belichick, if they do not win against the Colts in Germany, that he will be fired. I'm here to tell you, I don't see that happening. Not right now. If you are going to fire him, wait to the end of the year. Why fire him now? It makes no sense. Plus, everyone on that staff is a Bill Belichick disciple. It makes no sense to do it. His son is on, both sons are on the staff. Makes no sense to do that. It makes no sense. And there was a report that came out, whether this is an actual report or not, it's completely circumstantial. No one has any idea. But there was a report that came out that says if the Patriots decided to replace Belichick, the home run choice would be for Mike Vrabel. Vrabel has struggled in Tennessee this year. Could be let go, could not be let go. We'll see what happens. But that was the term, home run, to replace Belichick. Could you imagine if we went back 5 years and we ever said that, hey, Bill Belichick's going to get fired? We'd be all like, are you on drugs? What are you talking about? Bill Belichick's never going to get fired. And we're in that's our reality right now, is that people are talking about he could get fired. It's insane. That's how much stuff changes in 5 years. You see it with your own 2 eyes. Final thing before we hit our predictions for this week. Mike Tomlin was asked about George Pickens. George Pickens has said he wants to be more involved in the offense. He wants the ball. And in fact, everyone thought Tomlin was going to be upset because Tomlin's an all-team guy. But Tomlin actually was pleased by this. He was pleased. He said, quote, I'm not concerned about Pickens wanting the ball. Tomlin was happy that Pickens wants the ball and is a reason and wants to be a reason why Pittsburgh wins. Quote from Tomlin, it's a pebble in my shoe. Now, Tomlin uses what everyone calls Tomlinisms. And so we talk about this all the time with Jerry Jones and Bill Belichick, and what does these terms mean? Well, Tomlin is a pretty straightforward guy, but he uses terminology in a very creative way and speak in a very creative way. Tomlin made it clear during his weekly press conference that he had no issues with George Pickens desiring a more bigger impact role. Pickens last week posted the term, or the quote, free me on his social media, which that's what everyone does now. It's, if I'm not getting involved, free me, free me. It's just the way it is. Tomlin was quoted about, he said, "We appreciate his talent. We respect what people do to minimize his talent, but we function as a collective. And there's some benefits for our collective when people make the type of commitment that they have made recently when they try to minimize the impact of the game." Tomlin was asked whether or not it was a big deal that Pickens was voicing his frustration every once in a while. That's when Tomlin made it clear that Pickens' desire to make plays was a good thing and not a bad thing. Quote from Tomlin: "Heck yeah, man, he expresses frustration all the time. He wants to be a significant. He wants to be significant. He wants to be a part. He wants to be a reason why we are successful. I don't begrudge that. I want guys who want the football. I want guys who want to be the central reason why we are successful. That's not an issue, to be quite honest with you." Pittsburgh's coach went further, talking about the challenges dealing with young players who may not be happy in their role. Tomlin says, "It's like breathing. It's easy. I know it's a cute story for you guys, but it's a pebble in my shoe, to be quite honest with you, in terms of the things that I have to do in an effort to get this group ready to play this week. Our focus is on the Green Bay Packers and what we're all going to do this football game. I can't say it any plainer than that." Tomlin continued and said, "It's like reality television, the way you guys follow social media and write stories about it." And again, like I said, Tomlin uses very creative speak, but he does make sense. He says, "I want guys who want the ball. It makes sense for them to want the ball. So I'm going to allow them to get the ball and voice their frustration of wanting the ball. They want to be the reason we are successful. But at the same time, it's like a pebble in my shoe, as it's a problem to the minimal extent. And let's treat it as such." So I don't mind it. I think Tomlin handled it really well. I think Tomlin handles the media very well. I think the problem anyone has with Tomlin is that he sometimes doesn't look very animated and just goes with it. And the fact that you're not very successful, I don't think people appreciate that he's that way. But I think his players want an even killed coach. So, all right, our predictions. So the first game we're doing, Colts versus Patriots. This is the second game in Frankfurt, Germany. The Patriots are getting +1. I'm taking the Patriots to win. Here's the reason why I'm taking the Patriots to win. Every time I see this Colts team play, I'm concerned. It's like every time they play, the offense gives them a lead, and then the defense gets demolished, and they give up that lead. They were up 20 points against the Saints and lost 28-20. How does that happen? That can't happen. You're up 20 points and you gave up 28. That can't happen. New England has not been great either. But I said this. The offense is bad. There's no speed. They have no speed. They must find a way to get some speed. When your fastest guys are Thornton, Tyquan Thornton and Kendrick Bourne, and one guy is injured and out for the year, that's not a good thing. Juju Smith-Schuster is your most expensive guy, and yet somehow he's not playing in every game, and he's not able. You can't get him the ball because he's not catching. He made a great catch on the ground in a game against Washington, but on the next play, it goes right through his hands. And you can say, well, the ball shouldn't have been thrown. I get that. But you still gave your guy an opportunity to go catch it. He's got to catch it. Or knock it down or do something. He's got to catch it. He's either got to catch it or knock it down. Don't allow it to get intercepted. Don't allow it to get tipped. That can't happen. But I still take the Patriots to win this game. The score will be a close game, 23-20. Next up, Browns Ravens. This game is going to be very interesting. The Browns got a good defense, and the Ravens got a great offense and defense. This game, I'm going to be interested to see. I have it the Ravens win a close game. I want to see if the Ravens can actually beat a good defense. I want to see it. They played Detroit and they beat Detroit. So that was impressive. Can they do it when they face their rival in the Cleveland Browns? I have the Ravens winning. They sneak this game out 31-24. But can the Ravens find they played Detroit and they won easily. Then they played Arizona and they almost lost. So is that going to continue with the up and down? We need to see what happens. But Ravens win 31-24. Next up, Lions versus Chargers. The Chargers are getting +2.5. I don't care that they're getting +2.5. I really don't care. I think the Chargers are not a good football team. Yes, they beat the Jets, but I don't think the Jets are a good offensive team. I have the Lions winning big, 35-10 over the Chargers, because I still think Justin Herbert is out of sync with his guys. Even in the game against the Jets, he missed some throws that guys were wide open if he just lays it in there. But he's missing some throws. And I wasn't going to bring this up, but Garrett Wilson did call out his offense and said, look, we got to help our defense out. We got to help them. We can't keep going third and out, three and out, three and out, three and out, and hope that our defense doesn't allow more than 10 points so we can come back. Because you're not going to win. That's not going to happen. You can't do that consistently. You can do that against bad teams. You did it against the Giants, who are not a good team. But you can't do that against a team that can actually score points. That's the reason you lost against Dallas, for an example. Yes, you brought in Zach Wilson, yes. But you scored only 10 points because Dallas could actually score. They were going to score more than 10 points. You were going to struggle to score more than 10 points. I remember I watched that game and I said, if Dallas just scores 2 touchdowns, I don't see how they lose. Because as long as you keep it 2 touchdowns, how are the Jets going to respond? Because they haven't proven that they can go score 2 touchdowns offensively. They haven't proven it. So that's the same thing with the Lions. The Lions have proven that they can score and that their will beat your will. And I see them demolishing the Chargers 35-10. And final game, the New York Football Giants are heading to Arlington, Texas to face the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are favored by 16. 16. It will probably be higher than 16, depending on who's the quarterback. If it's Tommy DeVito, or if it's Tyrod Taylor, whoever, it probably won 16. I have Dallas winning this one. Similar score to last time, 35-0. Dallas won 40-0 in the first meeting of the year. I see this as a very similar game. I think Dallas is gonna look at these games that they play. They play the Cowboys' next 4 games, excuse me, are Giants, Panthers, Commanders, Seahawks. Seahawks are probably their toughest opponent in that time frame. Rivalry games are typically close, but I could see Dallas just going and playing a similar way that they played in the first week of the year, where the Cowboys win big, but this time they win 35-0. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.